someone else that was from what is now Germany, and again, we have a different flag. This is the flag of Hesse-Kassel, and Hesse was where all the Hessians who came and fought for the British during the Revolutionary War came from. And this is Freda Ehmann. And she came over. She ended up marrying another German who had fled in 1848 from the repression in the German area. They settled in Illinois, and then when he died, because he was a bit older, she had a son that lived out here, and he begged her to come, not stay alone. So she came out to California. There were boom times, and so she gave all the savings that she had, that she and her husband, who was a doctor, had raised. She handed it over to her son, and he invested it, and boom, there was a panic. And all the money was lost, but they settled out with the partners he was in, and she ended up with 20 acres of olive grove out in the North Valley, around Marysville. And so then they were poverty-stricken, and they said, oh, you should just sell off this olive orchard and have something, because it hadn't been producing very well, because it was new, but it started producing, and she went to a professor who had invented a better way of trying to preserve olives, but it wasn't very standardized. It was sort of still in the lab. She went home to her back porch and got a bunch of old barrels and started testing on olives, testing how to do it and how to make this a standardized practice. And one of the things that she did was she found, when she did it right, that all of the ripe olives were black. It used to be that they were a kind of a mottled green-brown color and very unappetizing looking. So she didn't invent this process, but in making it something that could be done on a regular basis and made into a factory, she also sort of invented the black ripe olive. She then, and she was pretty much penniless, and she was 56. But she had these olives. She figured out how to can them. And the first year, she sold them all to a grocer in Oakland. The next year, she was going to have even more. So she just took off, and she went to New York. She approached a hotel and almost got the sales, but the Italian influence in New York beat her out, and they were going to get the olives and olive oil from Italy. She went to Philadelphia and hit up a hotel there and got an order for like 15,000 gallons, more than she could deliver. So she came back and she just said to her son, where else are there olives? Because we've got to deliver 15,000 gallons, and I've got to cure them all. And she set up a factory, and they bought some more olives. And she was very instrumental. She was sort of the Steve Jobs of her day because she was very detail-oriented. And she was in that factory all the time, adjusting things and testing things, making sure the mix was right, and producing a very high-quality product. She then, when canning was coming up, and you've heard some stories about people getting involved in canning, she was the first one to can the olives. And this turned out to be a very popular product, and also was longer-lasting than the jars, which were, if you've ever put anything in jars, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the canning was solid there. So she rose from having nothing after this big panic, a financial panic that struck, to building an empire of olives. And she's very well known, especially in the Central Valley. And there's a historic society out there that's still based in the house that she built in Oroville.